Well, I think you'll enjoy this presentation about light. Light is one of those issues that you have to think about equally as much as you think about composition, as you think about your camera settings, as you think about where you're standing, that kind of thing. The power of light is very powerful. And that's the theme of this lecture, which features a lot of photographs I've taken over the years where I've been thinking constantly about light and lighting and how it's going to affect actually the picture that I'm taking. So we'll move on to the next slide here. Okay, one of the things I'd like you to think about is the different kinds of light as you encounter, your photographic subjects. Of course, you have the time of day. You have sunrise and sunset. You have twilight and dawn. You have noon, and noon is one of the least favorable times of taking pictures. The lighting is just very, very washed out there. No shadows. Shadows are very important, as you'll see in this lecture. Afternoon and morning, these are kind of equal. Afternoon and morning are equal. Firelight, of course, is very attractive. Candlelight's very interesting, very difficult. Window lighting is a very, very good kind of lighting. I'll show you how to use that. Backlighting can be fun. That's when the light is actually behind the subject and you're here all the time to make sure that the sun is facing the subject. You can get some really terrific pictures that are backlit. Rain and fog, some of my best color photographs are actually taken in the rain. Okay. Indoor lighting is very difficult, very strange. You get into issues of the types of lighting, neon light, incandescent light. You get into issues of your flash, that kind of thing. You just get a much more natural lighting if you use what's called available light. Then, of course, you have nighttime photography. Fortunately, many of the modern digital cameras have nighttime settings for fireworks, skylines, that kind of thing. Moonlight can be a lot of fun. Of course, you need a tripod for that. Reflections, okay, that's another kind of lighting. That's very, very cool. And then over-the-shoulder lighting, that's when the sun's behind you and directly on your subject. In this next slide, which I think you might find is very, very colorful, it's a picture of one of the stone circles in England. It's not Stonehenge. It's Avebury. It's a Druid circle. There are lots of other stone circles throughout all of Europe done by the Druids and the Celts besides Stonehenge. And this particular picture is powerful. We're there late in the evening. And the lighting, as you notice, is very side lit. It's almost horizontal, and it has the clouds lit up with pretty colors. Has the stones themselves very, very well outlined. If this picture had been taken at noon, it'd be a much, much different picture. It would totally lose that romantic feel that it has. On this picture, this is taken very early in the morning. This is a stone circle in Carnac, France. My wife and I drove all the way across France from Germany, where I stationed the army, to take this picture. We deliberately tried to arrive at dawn. We got the sunrise effect of the clouds. We got the stones very, very strongly lit with side shadows, which really makes the stone circle kind of jump out at you. On this one, it's the same day, same set of stone circles. Once again, notice how the shadows are all almost directly to the right side of the stones. This really makes them look three-dimensional. This is a three-dimensional photograph. If it were taken at noon, it would look very flat. It wouldn't be as colorful, and the stones wouldn't stand out. They wouldn't look, you wouldn't see them kind of from the front to the back here. So the time of day is absolutely critical. Coming up are a couple of black and white pictures. This is the Grand Canyon. Notice how the clouds stand out from the sky. At noon, you don't get that effect. You only get that in the morning and the afternoons when your sky is really clear, not hazy and burned out. It's particularly clear, of course, in the morning. Morning photography is often your best photography. But notice here, the Grand Canyon, it's a series of shadows and lights and darks, and that's what makes this what I think is a powerful picture. Same with this one, another Grand Canyon picture. Notice how the shadows are almost going sideways. Notice how the cactus in front jumps out at you. Notice how you see the lines and the canyon walls behind you very, very sharply. Notice that the black and white sky is kind of dark, yet the clouds very light. That's what you get in early morning, early afternoon, or late afternoon, that kind of thing. Here's a similar picture the same way. The whole foreground is kind of darkened out. There's no actual sunlight on that. The sunlight has moved on to the canyon rim in the background, and then, of course, you see the clouds highlighted. At noon, you wouldn't get this. At noon, everything would just be washed out, all the same color. Here's a picture, early morning picture. This is taken in Nicaragua. Look at the shadows on that. Look how the shadows make the photograph. Similar picture, taken same place, same time of day, Nicaragua. And look how that shadow, she's walking one way, the shadow is walking the other way, makes what I think is a rather dynamic, dramatic picture. Same way with color. Here's some wood grain. If this were full sunlight shining on it, straight on, you wouldn't see the edges of the wood. Instead, this is in France, early in the morning, a very, very old town, and the light is such that it's kind of coming in at an angle, and it's still not glaring. If it was glaring noon, the colors would be washed out, and you wouldn't see the wood grain. Here's a picture in Palenque, Chiapas, Mexico, one of the great Aztec ruins, one of the very, very romantic ones still. This is not a tourist area of Mexico. This is early in the morning, and the sunlight is coming from the side. It's not coming directly from the top. If it were directly overhead, once again, this would be washed out. You'd see no shadows. You'd see no variation of the light. Everything would be lighted equally. So I'm trying to get you to think about the light, think about the source of the light, and think about where the source of the light is coming from. This is also Palenque, early morning. See the man up there on the ruin, Mexican man up there smoking. See the smoke drifting. This is side lighted. This is early. If it were in the middle of the day, there'd be no shadows. The light would all be uniform, so you wouldn't see this kind of contrast between the lights and the dark areas. This is Arizona. This is a picture a la Ansel Adams. I tried to duplicate one of his photographs. This is an old mission. And once again, if it was taken at noon, there'd be no shadows. Everything would be washed out. You wouldn't see the kind of texture of the adobe walls. You wouldn't see the dark sky in the background. You'd see kind of a grayish, misty-looking sky, a light gray kind of misty sky. This is Nicaragua again. Now, this is so early in the morning. There are no shadows, okay? This is actually right at dawn, and there's just kind of this eerie-looking light to it, all right? And that's because there's no light, so there's no shadows, and it just gives you this strange, surreal picture that this whole setting in Nicaragua had. This is a very, very remote place that we had to reach by motorboat, very difficult to get to. These are actually Mosquito Indians living here, not your regular Hispanics that populate Nicaragua. This is on the coast, the Caribbean coast, the so-called Mosquito Coast, as a matter of fact. This is Stonehenge in England, of course, and this picture is taken directly into the sun. You know, they always tell you don't take pictures into the sun. This created a silhouette. Silhouettes can be very, very powerful, so I particularly like this picture with the sun kind of glaring out and creating this silhouette. So once again, I was very aware of where the sun was, and I could have walked around to the other side, okay, but I said, hey, this is my picture, because I was paying attention to where the lighting was. This is a picture taken in Spain. This is backlit, okay? Backlighting can be very, very powerful. The sun is coming up over the mountain. You can't see the mountain, but it's in the background. So look at the man's shoulder here. Look, he's smoking. Look at the smoke. Look at the sun right beneath the dog. Look at the shadow beneath the dog. I think you get some very, very striking effects. If you look at the background, you see the donkey cart, you see the mule, just kind of haloed by light. And that's what you get with backlighting. You get some very, very interesting halo effects. Once again, this is backlit. Notice the sun is behind my subject. This is, I think, early afternoon. This is the Tower of London, all right? Once again, it's a silhouette, and that's what you get from backlighting. You can create some very, very interesting pictures with backlighting. So you don't always have to play by some of these rules where they say, oh, don't do this, don't do that. Play with those rules, okay? This is window lighting. This is one of my famous nude scenes, okay? And what window lighting does is it collects light from one side of a room, and it kind of focuses it like a flashlight on just certain images within the room. You get very strong shadows and very strong side-lit subjects, all right? It can be very, very romantic. It can be very stark. It can create a sense of mystery. Another nude, another side-lit, another window lighting. Window lighting creates interesting angles, creates interesting shadows, it creates interesting highlights. It's very, very controlled lighting. But the way you do it is you have to turn off all the other lights in the room, okay? Pick one window, pose your subject near that window, turn off all the other lights, and look at what the natural light is doing. This is France. Once again, this is light coming through a door. This is a man making cheese. It's a huge wheel of cheese that he's making. There were no lights in the barn. The light's coming through the door. So once again, it's side lit. Okay, side lighting can be very powerful. This is one of my favorite photographs. It's a pretty simple photograph. It's taken fairly recently. It's in England and Bath, England. It's a near Bath, England. It's an old ruined cathedral, a ruined abbey, I think it was called. And the light is just totally natural. I turn off the flash, so the colors that you see here, the lighting that you see here is just the natural lighting. It gives you kind of this feeling of romanticism that you wouldn't have if you turn the flash on. Flash creates harsh shadows and changes the color. Another nude. This window is kind of fairly high above her. It's the only window in the room, and the colors in the room are very subdued, but because there's only one source of light and not too much of it, it's creating what I think are some very rich, very, very strong colors. This is an Asian woman. She had strongly colored skin, complemented the jacket, the hand-sewn jacket that she hand sewed here. In the background, you see some of her own artwork, kind of gray, slightly a distressed wall there, long dark black hair, very shiny, beautiful hair. And I think this gives you a different feeling that it would have if it had been taken with a flash. I could have set up flash, I could have done all other kinds of things with lighting, but I chose a single window lighting to create this particular feeling for this particular photograph. Another one of my favorite subjects. This is the famous cathedral at Metz. These in the background, you'll see the windows. Those are by Chagall. His windows are also on display at the Chicago Art Museum. And beautiful cathedral. This is taken at Easter. This is an Easter Mass. And once again, this is mostly natural lighting. It's a dark cathedral. There is a light bulb here, but most of the light is coming in through windows, particularly through that stained glass window. These require very careful exposures, very, very hard to hold the camera steady. It takes good lenses, that kind of thing, to get a picture like this. It's a pretty dark subject to begin with. Here is a moonlit picture, a nighttime picture. That's the moon coming over this cathedral in Nicaragua. This is partially lit by flood lamps, lighting up the church. At the same time, you can see the moon coming up, and there's not too much other light in the picture, so there's nothing distracting. Notice that with this kind of lighting, there are no shadows on the cathedral, and yet at the same time, you see the stonework very, very well because it's not washed out. Once again, thinking about your lighting or lack thereof. Now, speaking of lighting, you can also take pictures in the rain. You have very strange light in rain. I love rainy pictures, and I've got some terrific color. Look at the brilliant color here. This is in Nicaragua. This is this very remote area of Nicaragua that I showed you earlier. It's called Sandy Bay. This is a Mosquito Indian, one of the famous kind of boats that they use with this sail that's very, very predominant amongst Mosquito Indians. He's sewn together colorful fabrics, and it's the rain that brought out that color like that. Same here. This is also Sandy Bay. This is also the Mosquito Indians. And the rain, it does something very strange. The lighting does something very strange with color. You can either mute it and subdue it, but what color there is becomes actually kind of bright, kind of a glistening, glowing effect to the color. Once again, you just need to think about it. You need to look around. Don't hesitate to take pictures in the rain. Be very, very powerful. Fog, of course. Fog is wonderful. This is the very, very famous Mont Saint-Michel. My wife and I took this picture back in the early 70s. I'm really pleased to have it still. And once again, there's not a lot of color in the picture, but what color you have is very vibrant, very romantic. The boat in the foreground is kind of highlighted by being close and there being less fog between me and it. But look how much fog there is between me and Mont Saint-Michel, and that creates a kind of romantic feel to it. Fire lighting. This is not a picture I'm proud of. It's a picture I took. I wrote a book about the Ku Klux Klan back in the 90s, and I wouldn't say I'm not proud of it, but it's a very, very weird picture. This is a child Klans member, and they're getting ready to light a cross. So this is actually firelight, a very difficult picture to take for a variety of reasons. Everybody around me was holding a gun, okay? But fire lighting is very, very dim, of course. You have to hold the camera very steady. You have to have a good lens that will let all the light in possible, and so it's very, very difficult picture to take. But look how interesting, how striking this kind of a picture is. We talked about reflections earlier. This is the reflection of the very, very famous romantic Roman baths at Bath, England. Look how bright the color is. Look how interesting the reflection is. That's the reflection of the Cathedral of Bath in the background. And then last but not least, I'd like for you to think about flash and no flash. The picture on the left is taken with flash. It's very sharp, of course, which is nice. Flash will do that. It keeps everything in focus. It's up close, okay? But at the same time, it creates just odd discrepancies between the foreground and the background. Natural lighting, on the other hand, creates a more natural color if you kind of tone it carefully. You have to be a little careful to get the right color. And then it lets some light into the background, and it does not wash out the foreground. So all your digital cameras do have settings that let you turn the flash off. So I would highly recommend, when you can, turning off the flash and not using flash, all right? And then in Photoshop or in Microsoft Office Picture Manager, you can do a little color balancing. When you're taking pictures without the flash, sometimes the color looks a little off. You can fix that, all right, with Photoshop or with Microsoft Office Picture Manager or with iPhoto, that kind of thing, and with Picasso, you can fix the color balance. So that was a quick, down and dirty little lecture here on lighting. Bottom line is think about light. Thank you.